Listen up or run for cover. Dropping knowledge from the people who have it to the people who need it. The real Brad Lee is dropping
What it is, Brad Lee back again with another episode of Dropping Bombs. Today in the studio, folks, I got Matthew Januszek. What's happening, Matthew?
How you doing?
Now, for those of you that don't know Matthew, he's the co-founder of Escape Fitness Equipment, which is probably in 1 million plus gyms and organizations and people's closets. No, just joking. You're mainly in the big, the big gyms and Lifetime, Equinox, all the big fancy ones. So you're the equipment manufacturer.
Yeah, we're in mainly commercial. Like we do, there are probably products of ours on in people's closets, but predominantly it's B2B.
UFC gyms.
Absolutely, yeah.
Anytime, Snap, Crunch, all of them, and if not all of them, most of them.
Absolutely.
Most of the good ones.
Yeah, the good ones.
And so, but you're the manufacturer. In other words, you create the equipment that they're using to do personal training and get people ripped.
That's right. Yeah, we design the equipment, we manufacture it, and then we sell it either directly or through distributors in other parts of the world.
Is it all like the stretchy ropes and stuff, or is it actual equipment?
We call it functional training. So it's a lot of the stuff you'd use if you're doing group training or personal training. So everything from weights, ropes, boxes, frames. It's everything apart from the cardio machines. We don't really do anything on that side of things.
Do you do Smith machines?
We don't. So anything that's kind of fixed resistance or cardio, that's not really our bag. It's what we call functional training. So things that train you to move as your body should move, really, as opposed to being in a machine which is kind of very restrictive. You don't normally move controlled by something. You move fairly freely. So that's pretty much what we do.
And you started this in '98?
Yeah, it's a long time ago. So just over 20 years.
Who's Richard?
Richard's my father.
Excellent.
Yeah, yes.
It's funny that you say that because I was trying to remember who was in here. I think his father invented the Smith machine.
Really? And
they called it the Smith machine because this guy's name is Smith. And most people say, no, really. He told me the whole story, but the Smith machine is like, what the Smith machine
Absolutely,
is.
Absolutely, yeah.
Like, dude, the Smith machine is named after Smith. Did you know that?
I didn't know. I always wondered why it was called the Smith machine, but now I know. And you actually met the son of the guy who invented it.
It was either the son or the nephew, but there was a story, and it was a legit story because I looked it up. But this guy was running around in the beginning of the world. I think Joe Gold or somebody at one of the clubs. He was trying to sell the machine to, and so he goes in there and places it in there for a few days, and the guy comes in and he says, go get your Smith machine and move it over there. And it wasn't even called the Smith machine, but the guy was Smith, so he's like, go grab that Smith machine and get it over there, and they just called it the Smith machine. It's crazy. But the reason I'm asking is because, man, I want to buy good quality stuff for my house. I'm tired of going to a gym. It's just, I'm a time guy. And if I have to get up, get dressed, get in my vehicle, drive down to the gym, do what I do at the gym, drive back home, the drive there, the drive back, and a little bit of in between, man, that's 30, 40 minutes I could probably save if I could just get up in my skivs, walk out the whole nine, just get rocking right of my house.
Yeah.
But good equipment.
Yeah. Well, we can certainly talk about it afterwards. But I think you're right. I think it's really important. One of the things, I've worked out for over 30 years. And, as I started my business, I began to realize how important fitness is. You think about it, okay, well, I need to do it. I need to keep in shape. But one of the things I don't think people realize is how it affects you mentally as well, and your ability to be a very good business owner or entrepreneur. Because, you compare, one of the clients that we work with talks about, if you're in the NFL, if you think about how many hours they're on the field playing their game, I think he worked it out. In a season, it probably equates to like three days worth of playing time and about 16 hours worth of actually activity. And if you look at how much training they do as a pro NFL sports athlete, and then think about business people, 330 days a year, they're on it, full speed ahead, having to make decisions, having to lead people, influence, all kinds of stuff. And how much time do you actually put into the thing that's driving that machine, the money maker? And it's very little. And so I suppose, being able to, fit exercise or workout into your day is extremely important. So, whether that's having something in the office or at home, or however it is, you really need, it's probably one of the most important things you can do as an entrepreneur is to be able to sort of get, your fitness and nutrition right if you want to be successful over a long period of time.
That bomb you just heard, that means you're dropping bombs. Because it's the truth, man, and people need to pay attention to that. A lot of times, people ask me, how do I get ahead, and how do I win, and how do I succeed, and how do I make more money? And nobody talks about get your fat ass in shape. You get more energy and it gets you more this. And, at the end of the day, man, fitness and health is more important than money.
Yeah.
Because if I said to you, listen, I'm going to give you $30 billion, but you're going to be bedridden, nauseous, and not even able to move, you're not going to want the money over that.
No.
You want, everybody knows that health and fitness is better. Now, again, I might take $1 billion and be a little chunky, but as far as health goes, health, energy, vitality, that's the most important thing. That way you can run around with your kids, you can go on trips, you can make decisions. So folks, you guys better pay attention to that. Yeah. So in 98, you and your dad, says, your bio here says you turned your passion into a business. Why was it your passion? Were you already fit back then or something?
Yeah, I was a junior bodybuilder. I was daytime working for my grandfather in a dental business, and in the evenings I was working in nightclubs on the door as a security. And I kind of did that, one, because I weren't earning a lot of money at the time, and two, it kind of gave me a way to go out, meet girls, without having to pay anything for it. So I was doing that at the time, and also it was an opportunity to be around other bodybuilders. So I bummed around in my teens, and then as I got a bit older, I thought I need to come up with some kind of career because I'm not really heading anywhere. And so I was in the gym, sitting on the corner of a bench press in between the sets, and remember sort of looking over at these weights in the corner. And it sort of got me thinking about this conversation my father and I had, because he was from Poland, and he always had a belief that Poland was going to be a country which was going to open up. At the time it was a communist country and you couldn't really trade with it, and he had this vision that the country was going to go open up and there would be an opportunity to do business there. And on the side of these big weight plates it had Poland. And I sort of went home that evening. I said, I've just seen these plates in the gym from Poland. And I remember you telling me about how Poland is a good country to do business with. If you could find these, I'll go and knock on doors of gyms and sell weight plates. And that was, for me, that was my passion. I just wanted to be in and around the gym business. And my father was an engineer and he wanted to make stuff. And so it gave him an opportunity to leave what he was doing over time, and me to leave what I was doing. And we kind of combined those two, and we managed to get a business started in his spare bedroom of his house at the time.
Where was that at?
That was in a little place called Yaxley, which was in just outside a place called Peterborough, in a place called Cambridgeshire, which is probably somewhere that most people have heard. And it's a tiny little village, kind of in the middle of nowhere, like a farming community. So
when you guys from London say village, is that like us saying it's town or a city?
No.
Like when you say village, it makes it sound like, somebody's pulling an old wagon down the road with a donkey.
Yes, that's it. You've got it.
What do you mean? You just had a village?
Yeah, so it's basically like a kind of like a farming community. So it's probably like somewhere in the sticks.
Walmarts.
Not really. It's like a little place, a corner shop. Maybe a fuel station, a bunch of houses, and lots of farm and animals, and that's.
So how was it growing up in that?
It was like when I was a young kid, it was we had a great time. We'd be out.
No
we'd just
money, though.
Play outside. We had no money, no.
But
we didn't know we didn't have any money, if you know what I mean. I had a good family.
Dude, I did the same thing. But my question is the listeners to this, a lot of them are entrepreneurial. And it's like what I'm trying to demonstrate is, dude, you live in not a town, not a city, but a damn village in the middle of the freaking wherever, UK. So I imagine it's all gray and rainy most of the time.
Yeah.
And now you got a big multi-million-dollar international business doing business with all the big gyms, which gets you around all the celebs and the name brands. And you were in a village.
Well, yeah.
So if you can do it from a village, pretty much everyone else would just stop the excuses and quit making them and start doing biz. So because that's what happened.
Yeah. Well, there was one thing that I didn't mention. So I didn't like school. School didn't like me. I was very disruptive. So I kind of left very early. I left before I finished. I did one exam, which was in woodwork and metalwork, because that was something that I was excited about. And the only reason I did it is I made a set of squat stands. You know, when you do your squats on a bar, I made some squat stands and I made an adjustable bench for my garage at home. So I had a little home gym. So that was my motivation.
See,
to go.
You had a home gym. Damn.
But apart from that, I had no kind of qualifications. So I'm not that I'd recommend that to anyone, but I didn't kind of have the best start in this field. I didn't go to university or anything like that, which maybe could have been a good thing to do.
So you and your dad, you're saying, "Hey, I'll go sell these plates." So he started making the plates, or did he go source them to begin with?
Yeah, he went. His parents are Polish, so he kind of brushed up on his Polish because he hadn't lived there and he hadn't spoke it for many years. So he got on the phone. We spoke to some long lost aunts and uncles and relatives, and managed to find a factory that was making this. And he sourced them originally, and we brought them in. I always remember this kind of huge lorry reversed up this little street in the village, and it had all these like Olympic plates on them, and we had this little tiny house, at the time, and my parents did, and it reversed up the street, and it wanted to offload all these weights, and I remember my mum calling me, panicking, saying, "You need to come and sort this mess out," because they wanted. There's a lorry from Poland with some weights, but yeah, we sourced the weights, and then over time, we got involved in manufacturing. My father said, "Well, look, we should make them better," so we started to design them and make them ourselves over a period of time.
So do you believe being able to adapt and adjust is key in growing a business?
Yeah, one of the things that people talk a lot about is, how to get started and grow a business, which is really important. That's the first part of it. But, as you know yourself, once you're there, suddenly things just start. You don't start a business and make a load of money and then it's over. We've been going 20 years, and I think one of the also the most important thing is to be able to sustain a business over that time, because in this day and age things are changing so quickly that your best product of 2 years ago is no longer relevant today. So you have to be constantly adjusting, adapting to what the market wants in order to stay in business, because otherwise you're going to be gone as quick as you start.
You ain't lying. I've been 20 years my damn self.
Yeah.
With Lightspeed VT.
Wow.
Isn't that crazy?
It's
People
amazing.
are like, "Man, dude, you know that, like, I don't know the statistics. There's something like, out of all businesses that get started, only 10% last longer than a year." And then out of the 10% that last longer than a year, only 10% of those last longer than 10 years.
Wow.
So we're beating the shit out of the odds. Seriously. And I always think to myself, really? Well, man, there must be some shit I don't know, because like I've accidentally succeeded this long.
Yeah.
I'm no genius. I grew up in a small town, not a village, but a small town. Frickin' dropped out of high school at 16. Frickin' figured, hey, I probably should build this. It's going to be helpful to people. And, boom. Next thing you know, 20 years, I'm still in business. I think it might be because I'm just a great salesperson. I sold a lot of people along the way. How big has sales, or the ability to sell and close and persuade, how has it helped you in business?
Yeah, it's been extremely important. I think I use the word, I suppose, influence, because you're, as a business leader, you're influencing customers, you're influencing suppliers, you're influencing the people who work for you. So one of the things when we started, we didn't have any cash. So we're in the distribution business. So we were buying product and we were selling product. And the first barrier that we realized is, I remember coming back to my dad saying, look, I've just got this fantastic account, like it's going to be worth a lot of money for us. And so I was really proud. But then as the conversation went on with this client, they said, oh, obviously, you're going to give us 30 days. And we're like, what do you mean? It's like, well, yeah, if you deal with us, we need terms. We're not going to pay you for every order. And we had this kind of dilemma, my dad and I. It's like, okay, well, there's this great opportunity, but how are we going to fund it? Because we've got to buy it from a supplier who wants to be paid, and then we have to give them credit. And we had a few £1,000s, which wasn't a lot. We were juggling everything, and we managed to kind of influence the suppliers at the time to kind of give us certain terms, and the people that we were selling to, we managed to influence them to flex a little bit, and because of that, we managed to get the business going. So I think you've got sales in terms of convincing somebody to buy you something, but there's a lot of other areas as well. And I think if you can be a good influencer, able to communicate, able to understand the needs of other people and align that, then I think it's a really important skill for anyone to have, even if you're not in sales.
Yeah, well, I would agree with that 1,000%. So what are you out doing now? Like, for example, you're not still knocking on doors selling plates, are you?
No, well, I guess one of the things I like to do is I'm still very in touch with the market, the customer.
Because you're in like 80 countries, aren't you?
Yeah. So I'm out in Bangkok next week at a big event, and I'll be meeting customers. I'll be talking to them. I'll be asking them questions. I won't directly be selling to them, but I'll be, working with our sales teams on that side. So I guess for me as a leader of a business, I feel, you can either be a leader who just sits in a room and lets other people do that, or you can be sort of out. You could be the face. You could be talking to people. And my style is I want to be out in the market. I want to know what's going on. I want to be talking to the people that are buying the product, and not just the owners of the company. I want to be talking to the people on the ground floor, what they think, because these are the guys and girls that are really on the cutting edge. They know stuff and problems before the owners of the company know problems. The people who work.
Well, that's because they're the ones causing them.
Well, yeah, you could say a lot of cases.
Just joking.
But if you came into our business, some of the people that are doing the day-to-day stuff probably know more about the business than I do.
Sure.
And that's a lot of the situation with our customers. So, I want to make sure that we're not just talking to the people who are running it, but the people who are working in it. And I think that makes us as a company more responsive and more able to kind of be, anticipate where the market's going next.
So basically, user feedback's key.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because the person running the gym's not the one using your equipment. Mm-mm. So they're just saying, hey, yeah. And then the ones using your equipment, they're the ones saying, hey, man, the handle's too short, or man, these things are too heavy to move. It'd be great if they were this. Yeah. And then you just keep modifying and adjusting the equipment based on user feedback, and you stay cutting edge.
Yeah, and it's an interesting thing about innovation and being at the cutting edge, because we have this conversation a lot. As a company, innovation is key to our business. But with innovation, we've learned the hard way. You can be too innovative. You can be too ahead of the curve. And the problem is you probably know this quite well, what you do. If you're too ahead of the curve, there's two risks. One is that you have to invest a huge amount of money to educate people that this is a problem that they don't even know that they've got. At the same time, unless you've got a lot behind you to fund that education, people can look at what you're doing, adapt, and come on quite quickly and overtake you.
Yeah.
Or you can just, it's just you're 3 or 4 years too far ahead of everybody else, and it never happens. So, you just got to be on the cusp of innovation, so that people are, you're just ready for them when they're about to take that next step. And that's very difficult to, I don't know whether you can write a book about it, but unless you're in touch with the market, you can't get that feeling for where you need to be.
Yeah, well, I was at least 10 years ahead of my time. Some people say 20. I mean, when I created this company, nobody was training online. Internet was barely out. I started knocking on doors saying, hey, listen, let me show you how you train online. They're like, what? I'm like, dude, you got to train online, da-da-da-da-da. It's like, it took me 5 to 8 years before I really got anyone to even do it. And then another 5 to 8 years for them to actually agree that, yeah, I guess it is better. And now, 20 years later, boom, everyone's like, we should be training online. Well, no shit. And not only that, people are just now, well, we should be using videos, not voiceover PowerPoints. Well, no shit. And guess what? In another 5 years, people are going to go, hey, and these videos should be able to be interactive to where they can adapt. No shit. So it'll be 25 years, and that's a little bit too innovative.
Yeah.
Meaning, dude, most people wouldn't survive. If I wasn't such a unstoppable rhinoceros-minded force, I would have given up, dude. How do you go 8 years making no money? How long did it take you guys to start making any loot?
Well, you kind of hear these stories of people that come up with an idea and then suddenly, their things changed and their life changed and everything's great. For us, it was always just this slow and hard, like climbing a mountain. You're moving up, but every step you're pushing. You're pushing, you're working, you're pushing, and so it took a long time. The first few years, my dad and I had two jobs. We did our day job. We did this in the evening. Then I left the day job, and we managed to create enough cash flow to pay my salary. Then, like a year and a half, my dad was able to leave what he was doing, and he came on board. And then we got family members first. My brother, sister, mother. They all kind of started part-time, then full-time. So, it was a number of years before things happened. And then, we grew, and then market changed, and we went down, and we adjusted and went up. So it's been it's kind of like this zigzag. And it's it's an upward trending zigzag, but it wasn't a sort of an overnight success.
What about, we got anything proprietary?
Yeah, big part.
Because can I walk in and be like, oh shit, that's a cool little device they're making there, and then just go into my smoldering factory? What do they call them? Where you make the steel?
Yeah, like
smelter,
a foundry or something.
Yeah, foundry.
Yeah.
Can I go into my foundry and pound out the same thing you're doing?
You can, and so in our business, that's been a real challenge. And so we from a very early days, we kind of really considered about intellectual property, understanding the importance of being able to get some form of protection on what you do, because we were designing nice products, and then we'd go to a trade show, and with a couple of weeks, the Chinese, not call out our Chinese friends, but
I'll call them out. Frickin' Chinese. Hey, there's nothing wrong with the people.
No.
But at the end of the day, it's the rules. They know there's nothing we can do.
Exactly.
So they just copy everything. And by the way, I would imagine there's a lot of Chinese inventions that get copied by other Chinese people because of the rules there.
Yeah, there isn't any rules. So the way what we learned over time, and we tried to sue Chinese companies and lost thousands and thousands over it.
You can't.
It's impossible. So what we learned is we would get some form of protection in the key markets around the world, and then we would go for the big fish. So if anybody that was a serious competitor would copy it, then we were going to action, because I had more to lose.
So you protected everything.
We
with
protected
copyrights,
everything.
patents, what?
Mainly patents, design registrations. Those are the two things we use on a product side.
So let's go back to Smith machines.
Yeah.
I know Hammer Strength makes a Smith machine. You heard of Hammer Strength?
Yeah, we work with those guys. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know all the gym equipment because I'm rarely in one other than the Fitness 19. But it's, I forget the name brands of them. But I've seen 100 different Smith machines. How come someone couldn't protect that?
Well, I think it's around about 25 years that a patent stays in. So and I don't know whether Mr. Smith actually got a patent. A couple of things. If you come up with an idea and then you take it to a trade show and it's not protected, then you can't protect it. It's people have seen it. It's too late. So you gotta really understand how to play that game. So if you've got an idea, you need to kind of protect it first, and then you've got a period of, I think it's about 20, 25 years, maybe different in each country's, to keep that. So that Smith machines have been around for a long time. So my guess is, similar to have you seen like the Concept 2 rowers? Mm-hmm. That's been around. That patent's now expired. It's been out for a certain amount of time.
The like you're rowing a boat?
Yeah, that sort of thing. So you've got a window of opportunity to fight things off, and then it just opens up. But normally that window's big enough to get established in the market.
I've invented in my head a piece of equipment that I think would be the most popular piece of equipment in any facility on the market.
Really? Well, don't tell us online. Tell me offline, and I'll.
The name is the Spider.
The spider.
And I'll explain offline.
Okay.
It's the spider. Like everybody would have a row of spiders.
Wow. I'm very interested now. You've got my attention.
Well, have you ever seen the movie The Jerk?
The Jerk. I don't think I have.
It's a long time ago. You should rent it. It's funny. But Steve Martin.
Oh yes, I have. Yeah.
Yeah, his name's Norbert or some shit.
Yeah,
like
that's
that.
a great. Yeah.
So he says, the guy comes in and his glasses.
But
so he
the
fixes
glasses
them.
that flip up and they
No,
make
it's got a thing right.
Oh, that's right. And they go cross-eyed.
Makes him go cross-eyed. So he gets sued. So he loses it all at the end. But the guy says, if I do anything, I'll send you some money. And it was just billions of dollars. So I'll tell you what the spider is, because I don't think I'll ever do it.
Right.
And I would want these to be made just so I could have one.
Yeah.
Because if I had a spider, number one, it'd be awesome. Number two, I wouldn't need a gym. Now that's why maybe you won't make one, because what if no one needs gyms? But dude, you had 1 billion spiders in every household in the country.
That's all good.
Like Peloton, dude, they're killing it.
Yeah.
You've heard of Peloton?
Yeah, they're doing well. I don't think they've made money for a while, but their valuation, or potential valuation, is pretty crazy.
Well, dude, their equipment's cool.
Yeah.
But really, I believe it or not, invented that 20 years ago. My buddy Troy, we grew up together. He bought a gym. He owned a bunch of Gold's gyms after a while. But anyway, when we first started, he bought this little gyms called Delps. His dad bought it for him. We were all in high school, but his dad bought him a gym. Well, he turned that gym into 4 and 7 and then 12, and then he sold them, and he was rich. Then he bought these and that, and he's still in the business. Good friend of mine still. So like I told him a long time ago about like, why don't you have like a screen on a bike where people can just watch the trainer? And that's ultimately what a Peloton is, isn't it? And then I'm like, dude, why can't I ride the bike and look like I'm cruising around famous spots, like or race people? And dude, that's ultimately what it is.
Yeah, I and you're right. And the interesting thing about that as a subject is that I've seen several of these things over the years. There was a product called Real Rider that Reebok got involved with probably about 10 years ago. And there's been several versions of this. This isn't totally new and innovative, but I think, part of it is how you execute. Timing is a big thing, as we talked about earlier. You've got to kind of have the right timing. And I think sometimes some of those products maybe have been a bit too soon. And then how you execute, how you wrap and package it. And so you can have all these great ideas, which a lot of people have, and think, okay, well, I had that idea and I could have made myself a billionaire. But there's also other parts to it. And so I think it's not just having a great idea, it's how you implement, execute, sell and market them. And we've had some great ideas, but we've been, have been poorly executed and haven't worked, and vice versa. Simple things that have made us a lot of money.
Well, as I'm chit-chatting, I notice, and let me point out again, your Escape fitness equipment. And if you guys are interested in like looking at some of the things, if you guys own gyms in the fitness industry, want to check out this dude's stuff, just go to escapefitness.com and you can find him. Or you can go to Instagram and find him at Matthew Januszek. And I'll let you look, it's MatthewJanuszek.
That's correct.
Matthew Januszek. At Instagram, Facebook, same thing. Matthew Januszek Escape. But I notice it's Escape Fitness. So it's like the word escape brings me a whole bunch of more ideas. Now, do you want me to talk about them now, or do you maybe they're going to be so good you'd rather hear them offline? Because, dude, the difference between it is most people won't do shit anyway. I could tell them the thing right now, and they won't do shit about it. I've done it before where I've given people the idea, and they didn't do shit, and then 8 years later, somebody did it and somebody's rich. And I said, remember when I said about that? They're like, yep, this little device right here. You ever see these?
Oh, right. Yeah.
Dude, if I gave you one of these, you'll never, like, I literally will change my phone before I change this. like when the iPhones came out with the glass on the back, this wouldn't stick. And I was about to go get a different phone so this could stick. That's how valuable these are to me. And anyway, I didn't invent this, but I don't own this company, but I did invent this way before this person did. And coincidentally enough, they were on the podcast, and I told them, I said, dude, I thought of this a million years ago. And the difference is you did too after me, but you did it and I didn't.
Yeah.
So that's the difference. You can do it, man. You're in the business. So I tell you a good idea, you can make a phone call and do it. Most people listening won't. But the escape fitness, just the word escape, I've always thought like any type of piece of equipment, man, if you just attach a game to it. So let's say, for example, you can pick, you're the burglar or you're the cop. So I snatch a lady's purse in a park, and now this piece of equipment, I have to escape the police. And trust me, this piece of equipment is basically just a treadmill or whatever with a video monitor, and I just got to escape, and it's a game. And I know you said you don't really mess with the cardio thing, but maybe you could, because escape fitness, you have to escape, and it's a game. It's just all about in a game. People like games. If I went on a treadmill and I was competing with everybody in the same row, it would be more fun. But how come when I go to the gym, these treadmills aren't connected?
Well, that's the magic of Peloton. The difference is it's not just a screen. You are actually competing with other people in the class, but also around the world, which is very clever.
That's what I'm talking about. See, again, dude, that was my idea. The whole sun coming up in the morning, that was my idea. I always say shit was my idea because it was similar, but seriously, that's what I'm talking about, dude. Yeah. Why don't you do something like that?
Yeah, I think it's a great idea. I represent probably a small percentage of people that just enjoy working out, but in reality, 95% of people don't. It's difficult. It's hard. It's painful. And so, having ways to make it more fun and engaging and interesting is what it's about. We try and do that with our products, and we look at helping trainers to create fun and engaging classes, but being able to go that next level and like you say, create these scenarios where you're actually absorbed in the activity absorbed in the experience as opposed to the activity, I think is certainly the way to go.
Well, yeah, because listen, this is just my opinion. When you're a fitness equipment company, you don't have facilities. You rely on facilities, and you rely on their members. Well, wouldn't you love if everybody walked in tomorrow and said, "Do you guys have any Escape fitness equipment here?" No? Oh, I'm sorry. I'm going to go to a gym that has Escape fitness equipment. How would you like that?
Yeah, that'd be pretty cool.
Exactly. Like then you become huge because people be calling you, begging you to put your equipment in their facilities because, man, people are coming in. They aren't signing up because I don't have your shit.
Yeah, they need a spider, you see. That's what it is.
But at the end of the day, dude, listen, that's a powerful brand. If I walked into a gym and said, hey, how you doing? Hey, welcome. You want to take a tour? No, I just want to know, do you have Escape fitness equipment? Oh, you don't? Okay, thank you. Wait, where are you going? We have Hammer Strength and we have TRX. Is it called TRX, that thing? That big rack. See, that's my point. Like, dude, I've never walked in and said, hey, I need TRX. But if the TRX trainers get the PT guys to understand how to use that freaking stupid looking rack, and then they train their people on the rack and get them, let's say, addicted to a TRX machine, that helps TRX brand. Mm-hmm. That helps the equipment manufacturer. But I've never, ever seen anybody working out on this TRX machine that's in our gym. And it's like, dude, what do you have that thing here? And I'll bet you eventually it'll go away because nobody's using it. Mm. Why is nobody using it? Because TRX isn't making sure. Why is TRX not making sure? Because they don't have enough people to probably facilitate all of the training and brand building necessary to train every new hire to every, person that's turning over, and eventually they just can't keep up. So now there's a machine there that no one knows how to use. And guess what? It's not going to be there long if that continues. So if I were TRX or Escape or Hammer Strength or anybody, and again, if I'm making a bench press, dude, we all know how to use a bench press. But what do you do with those straps on that TRX machine? Someone needs to show me. Well, there's an opportunity. I asked, someone has an opportunity to PT me. Escape fitness equipment. That's just a cool name. It's better than TRX. Why? Just the name alone. Escape. Why Escape?
Why Escape? Well, interesting story. So when I first decided to start my own business. This was prior to the weights. I had one of these crazy ideas, which was I had a girlfriend at the time whose father sold ladies' clothes on a market store, and I needed to earn some money. And he had all these shops, lovely, beautiful convertible Mercedes cars, and I thought, well, he's obviously in the right business, So I remember talking to him and saying, look, maybe I can buy some of your clothes and I can sell them. And at my dad, going back to the early conversation, he kept saying, think about Poland, think about Poland. So I wasn't the smartest businessman, but I thought, okay, well, he's making money with clothes. My dad said Poland. Why don't I buy some clothes from him and sell them in Poland? Okay, so that was kind of like a bit of a, that wasn't one of my best ideas. So I had this Jeep at the time, and I bought all these clothes, these dresses, these jumpers, drove from England through Amsterdam down through Germany into Poland. And at the time you couldn't get in because it was a closed country. You had to get someone to invite you in. Gave them a few jumpers to bribe them to allow me to go in. And I knocked on the doors of shops and to sell these clothes, which I managed to do. That really tested my sales skills because I didn't even speak Polish, but we managed to offload all this stuff. And so the Escape name was the name for the clothes. It was like to escape England, to escape where I was, this little village, to do something better. And then when we came up with this fitness idea, we'd already kind of printed the business cards, and I didn't want to print some more business cards. I didn't have a lot of money, so I just kept the name. And when I went to see people with the weights, I gave them the same business cards for the ladies' clothes, and that's stuck.
Is that right?
That's true. True story.
That's funny, man. Have you told that story before?
Probably not to many people. Probably no. That's because that it was a bit of a failure. It wasn't one of my proudest moments.
Yeah, but that's why people like dropping bombs, because people always write into me and they're like, dude, freaking love listening to your shit because it's like a conversation. And like, how do you ask the questions you ask? It's like, well, I don't know. Through conversation. Like, I'm curious, why Escape? Well, that's a good ass story. But the name's cool. And to me, when I hear Escape fitness equipment, it sounds like, what is that? Like, you have an opportunity to create a consumer awareness that could drive your brand, because I want Escape fitness equipment. I don't want to work out on the normal gym equipment. I want Escape fitness equipment. And how you get that awareness and market demand is to be unique and have a kettlebell is a kettlebell. Like, well, we got kettlebells. Well, who cares? Who cares what freaking brand of kettlebell it is? Well, we teach you how to use the kettlebell. It's a kettlebell, dude. I don't give a shit who's making the kettlebell. Just give me a damn good kettlebell. But if you go in there with a piece of equipment that only Escape Fitness has, and it ties to a game of some kind or some sort of thing where I want that equipment because it's fun for me, or it's, I enjoy the workout better or whatever. So whether it's a spider or whether it's a piece of equipment that, you're running from the cops because you just stole a purse, and I know that's a bad analogy. You can come up with a better one, but you're escaping someone after you. Have you ever ran from somebody?
Yes.
So have I. And trust me, dude, if they keep chasing, dude, you're still running. You're not stopping. So if you could incorporate some sort of fun to where, like, the whole point of this piece of equipment is to escape, dude, I think you'd have a big smash on your hand, because people love playing games. People love competition. And when I hear Escape, I'm always thinking, like, what is it? Like, I'm assuming it's something, cool, because obviously you're successful. So people must be liking your equipment. But Escape, that sounds like freaking a game. That sounds like fun. That sounds like something I want to do.
Right.
What do you have? What kind of equipment do you manufacture?
So we'll do everything from a lot of the strength and conditioning. We do kettlebells.
See? What's that? I don't get it. Why would I buy an Escape kettlebell as opposed to a kettlebell? Yeah. And by the way, is there another brand?
There's other ones out there. Like we focus from a product side, which is part of one part of our solution. But we always design's a really key part of what we do. So when we first started, we would take basic dumbbells and weight plates that have been around for years where there's no design added to them, and we just make them look a bit sexy. We'd add some color.
So you're like the Apple of weight plates.
So yeah, we'd make the stuff look cool and sexy, and it was amazing how many brands at the time just took what was from China. Sure. No thought on design. Look at your laptop in front of you. It looks cool. You've got a nice little Apple thing. So we would just style things, and that was always, that was the first thing that we did to differentiate ourselves from everybody else. In a lot of businesses, people tend to look at what someone else is doing, and they'll say, "Well, I'm similar to those, or I do what they do, but I'm a bit cheaper." And their whole kind of business proposition is based on copying someone else, but doing it cheaper, which, is not really a strategy. And then if you ever head to head someone, you're always the copy version. So we've always tried to say, look, we want to do whatever we can to be in our own space, So if you see an Escape product, you'll know it. Like you mentioned off camera, that stuff was recognizable. You'd seen it before. If you see we've got these big sort of tires that are colorful and made out of foam. They don't mess up your gym gear. My mum can pick them up. She feels cool using it, and it's fun, colorful, exciting equipment. And it doesn't look like anything else that's on the market. Yeah. And so that's one of the things that we always try and do. Why don't do something different rather than trying to do a cheaper knockoff of what's out there.
Well, now that you have your core business and your brand is recognizable and everybody loves you, now you might be able to afford to experiment because you don't need the money. Now you can just like toy around with something.
Maybe. Yeah.
So, dude,
it's a great idea. Though. It's something I hadn't really thought of, but I like where you're going with it.
And you can play off the Escape, dude.
Yeah.
Like, dude, I want to go to a gym. Like, I would be there at 6 a.m. If Escape started at 6, I'm gonna be there at 6. Sometimes I'll get in there about 6:20, 6:30. Why? Who cares? I'm just gonna get on a treadmill. I'm gonna go hit the weights. I'm gonna get out of there. But dude, if it's almost like a group X out on the gym floor.
Right.
Like Escape starts at 6 a.m. You better be in there because you can't play until all the machines are going to be taken anyway.
Yeah.
Would you ever make a machine?
Maybe if it was if it fitted into kind of our belief about working out. And
what is your belief about working out?
Most of what we do is about free movement. The term is functional training, but it's about moving in a way that your body is naturally designed to move and being able to enhance that movement. So even as you get older, like I am now, I still want to move like I was when I was 20. My body, I want to function. I want to have that strength, that power, that cardiovascular strength. And I, rather as opposed to having a machine that's kind of compensating for me, I want to move as my body was intended. So everything that we design is to enhance your ability to do that, whether you're at the elite athlete level and you're doing it for a sport, or whether you're someone like my mum that just wants to be in tip-top shape to keep up with her grandchildren and everything that's in between. That's our philosophy. So yeah, machines have their place. It's not in our range, but certainly.
Well, you never know.
You never know.
I do know that you're in a lot of different top-tier facilities. Is that because your design's so kick-ass?
Yeah, I think we focus on great designs. What we provide is they're legitimate concepts, and we really focus on the quality. There's a lot of stuff we could do and we could make a lot cheaper by shipping it off to Asia, but I use the gym. I use the gym a lot, and I know how the cheaper stuff will perform over time. So I'd rather say, look, okay, we're not for everybody. Not everybody can afford us, but I know that I can go into one of the gyms with our equipment, a year, 2 years time, and it still look good. It still reflect the brand because, I am the brand. If you had a gym, I don't want you to come and see me in 12 months time. We bump into each other and you say, oh, I brought that stuff from you and it's fallen to pieces.
Yeah.
Me that it's not a good thing to have. I want you to say, I've got your equipment. It's bloody awesome. And I want to come back to you again. And that's in business, it's a tough decision because you turn away a lot of business
and profits.
The bulk of the market. It's very easy just to go out and say, let's copy what Escape have done. Let's do it a bit cheaper, source it in China. It's not quite as good, but let's do that and make a bunch of money. And you can do it. And we know we give away a lot of business because we're not prepared to do that. But I'm in this game long term. I love what I do, and I want people to tell them how great they think our products are, as I'm sure you do with your products. You want people raving about how good your system and solutions are, I would have thought.
Absolutely. And design's key too, because I was wondering, I wonder what's the big difference. But when you said yours looks better, dude, I go into the gym sometimes and I see the old iron. I don't know if it's iron or steel, but just the big heavy ass plates that look the same in every gym you go to. Even if they're not the same, they're the same. And then you see the freaking well-designed, better looking things in life. And yeah, that's what people want. That's probably what started you being that's probably what started the success for you, is you went in there with a better design, more functional, more quality. And that's why when you look at your client list, you're in a lot of like David Lloyd, that's high end, right?
Yeah,
Is there a
Barton,
Dave Barton or
David Barton? Yeah, I think, I'm not sure if they're around anymore, but there is a David
UFC,
Barton over here.
Fitness First, 24-hour fitness. Who else?
Yeah. Now you're testing me. We'd be with Snap, and we've been a lot of independent gyms.
They want quality stuff. That's why they're buying from Escape.
And it's about the experience. Look at this studio here. You could have probably done this for half the price, but it wouldn't. It wouldn't have been the same experience. You've got good quality mics. You've got your design of this. It's someone's spent time and thought about it, which is probably why you're one of the leading podcasts there is, and people, when they look at it, they think this guy, even if they don't know you, they think this is a serious dude. He's done it properly. And I think,
would they be wrong?
And I think in anything in business, you want people, even if they don't, before they know you, when they step in and they see your business, whether it's how you dress, your business card. When I first did a trade show, we couldn't afford a booth. We had like a 3 meter by 2 meter, which is sort of like 6 foot by 4 foot, small space, but it was the smallest one on there. But what we did is I put all the money I had. I kind of created this crazy suit that I wore, because that was really the only thing that I could do. And I had these friends of mine, make this really wacky suit that would stand out, and everybody said, "Who's that weird guy in the suit?" And my brochures were really high quality. So even though I was really kind of smaller than anyone else in there, our philosophy in our business is, how can we punch above our weight? What we can't outspend our competition. I couldn't do more ads. I couldn't have a bigger booth at a trade show, but I can out innovate them. I can be more creative. I can get everyone wearing some funky clothes that everyone's going to look at our funky clothes instead of the big booth, which have spent hundreds of thousands. And I think in business, you gotta be able to do that. And the presentation and the first impressions is really important. And you don't necessarily have to outspend directly, but you can do it I believe you need to do it in a slightly different way.
Yeah, that's a good point, man. If you guys are listening out there, folks, you just made a great point. If you can't outspend your competition, and a lot of times, especially when you're a startup, you can't, well, then you better outthink them, and you better be more creative. Like if you go to a conventions to say, you always see the booth. What you're walking past them, they all look the same after a while. You're giving out pens, you're giving out the squishy stress balls, you're giving out, well, you know what? Figure out, how do you stand out, whether it be the hot girl. Now everyone's doing the girls out front. How do you do it, and how do you keep and stay fresh to keep that attention coming?
Yeah.
Are you the one that does that for the company, or do you have a team now?
Yeah, we've got a team. Like I like to be involved in that side of things. I like to be, looking at all the different industries. Coming here today, you get inspiration from other places, and it's like, what can you do without spending a load of money? Because it's very easy, particularly if you're a startup and you've been, given money or you've raised funds. It's easy just to go out and say, right, let's go to this company and spend a fortune here. Let's get a big booth. When you started, I guess like I have, and probably like you, is every penny's your own penny, and you got to make every dollar equate to $10. A dollar can't equal a dollar if when you're starting for yourself. It's got to equal 10. So it's like, what can you do? One of the early days when we went to a trade show, we hired these 70s outfits. So I had a wig on. This is a fitness show. I was thinking, I'm looking totally stupid. I had these big flares on and these long jackets, and all the guys on the stand were like, "Are you serious?" And we all dressed up in these 70s outfits, and we hired, a friend of mine had a nightclub, and we rented a nightclub. We put on a party where we charged people tickets to go in, and everyone in this whole place, all of our competitors, everyone went to this party, and we were selling tickets, and everybody knew about Escape. And you know, we were only been, it was like 2 or 3 years in, but we were on the map, and all we did is got some secondhand 70s costumes, you know, did a deal with the nightclub where he kept the bar and we got free entry, and that's it. And I think in business, that's what you got to do. You got to think outside the box. Don't look at what everyone's doing in your space and trying to do a variation on that. You know, think totally left field. You know, come up with something different, and that's how I think you can compete against some of the biggest brands in the world.
What if you don't have anybody on your team that does that, and you can't do that?
Well, I guess you know, no one taught me how to do that. You know, it's just a mindset. Like, you know,
well, again, it's like sometimes I'll get on the phone downstairs in my sales room, and I'll close deals for people. And when I get off, they're like, "Dude, how did you do that?" And I'm like, "Dude, I don't know." To me, I think it's natural. I think it's, you know, how did you think of that? Well, how did you not think of that? But like when you just said, you know, 70s costume. Well, what were you thinking to come up with that? So the party I like. We had a convention one time we couldn't afford to go to. It was very expensive to get in the booth. So what someone said is, hey, instead of spending all that money on that, why don't we just do a party? Well, we threw the damn party, and same thing. We got a bunch of people that want to go to that party, and we closed deals at the party. And we saved like a ton of money. And I thought a party, like, dude, because people want a party. So if you were to say, how did you think of that? Well, the method was, what do people want to do? Well, at those conventions, they definitely don't want to go booth to booth to booth to booth. So booths are kind of a waste of money because I wouldn't want to go to a booth. Let's see, what do I want to do when I go to those conventions? Well, I want to get out of the convention and go to the parties that are there. And usually it's the big corporate-y ones or not. So let's throw a party. It was that easy. I mean, it just naturally, let's throw a party. What was your method to say 70s and the party and all that?
I think I got together a few people who were working in the business at the time, and we threw around a few ideas, and it kind of evolved. I don't know how 70s came up. I think it was just popular at the time. You know, these 70s parties, people like to go. They like the music, and then we said, well, look, let's do the costumes, because we, you know, when you go to a trade show, you know, everyone's got to wear the same t-shirts, and then it's like, okay, well, that's going to cost us a bit because we've got to get t-shirts logoed, and then it's like, well, are we all going to wear matching bottoms, and we got to buy people trousers, and then it was like a fitness show, so we were looking at trainers. So when I kind of looked at the cost just to do it in a traditional way, I thought it's going to cost us a lot of money, you know, to do this. The 70s costumes, there was loads of secondhand places that did it cheaply. So part of it was a cheaper way to dress everybody, if I'm honest.
Dress everyone consistently.
Yeah.
So we all look together.
Yeah. In this way, we were all different. You know, I had a wig on, I had purple stuff. Someone else had this big, you know, kipper
different
tie.
But together.
Yeah,
that's key,
we're
though.
all 70s, yeah.
Yeah, that's brilliant.
And
that's
then
smart.
actually, the funny thing was, on the second day, people were like, where can I get the costumes? And so we got the guy from the costume store to come to the trade show, and he brought a van, and he was then renting this stuff to the other people on the booth. It kind of took on a life of its own. And, you know, it's one of those things that just kind of happens. But it's an example of, you know, using, you know, creativity within your team to say, well, let's just think out of the box. Let's just try not to do what everybody does. The squeezy stuff, you know. How many you could go to all these different industry trade shows, and they're probably all, if you took off the name on the front, they're probably all very similar, aren't they? They're very dry. Everybody's got a big booth, bright lights, you know, kind of guys walking around in suits. They're all the same. You know, there's no energy, there's no fun, there's no excitement.
I call it corporate-y. It's very, oh, we got to be professional. We got to be corporate-y. Oh, hell no, you're not wearing that. We've got to be professional. Like, I think the opposite like you do.
It's all gray. You know,
one we had balls at this convention that lit up. They're like bouncy rubber balls, you know, and they're see-through, and the bright lights are in the middle, and they turn on when you bounce them.
Right.
So I noticed at the convention the prior year that there was a guy standing there, and he would bounce a ball on the floor, and it'd make you want to catch it. And then whoever was with it, they'd go like this because they want to catch the ball. So this guy was bouncing them. So I said, okay, we'll do the balls this year. But ours had the flashy light, so they were cool. And then on the printing, we put Lightspeed VT on one side, and then on the other side, I wrote, "We got balls."
Nice.
See, people, a corporate company would never have done that.
No,
they're like, "Oh, dude, what if somebody thinks?" It's like, dude, you gotta be cool. You gotta think outside the box. You can't worry. Agree or disagree.
Yeah, and the problem when you get bigger is that if you're not careful, you can lose some of that stuff. I know certainly we look at ourselves and say, look back at some of the things we did in the early days when we weren't quite as well known, and we took a lot of risks. And I think you have to be careful as you grow as a business not to start merging into this kind of vanilla professional organization because you've got these high profile clients and you have to fit in with everything. I think you've got to keep that entrepreneurial spirit and take some risks. Okay, sometimes it's going to go wrong. I'll tell you a little story. So when we did our catalog early days, we used to sell, we don't sell it anymore, but we used to sell this fitness testing equipment. And there was these like things that you blow into, like that tested your respiratory, like they were called
lung capacity.
Lung capacities, yeah. And then there was like blood pressure monitors and heart rate caliper and all this, fat calipers. It was a really boring section. And when you looked in all of our competitors' catalogs, they all looked the same. Really just boring fitness equipment. I used to hate it, but we sold lots of it at the time. And so when we create our brochure, it's like, right, we need to do something different in this. We need to change it up. So I kind of had this idea. We went in London, there's this place called Soho. And it's kind of like where you've got all the sex shops and the kind of peep shows and all that sort of stuff. And so the guy, my designer at the time, we went to Soho. And I had this idea about this kind of nurse's outfit, like a sort of a red and white sort of plastic kind of shiny nurse's outfit. And we had this model who was this sort of 6 foot long blonde busty girl. So I brought these red high heel shoes, this tight kind of mini skirt nurse's outfit with a big cross on it. And then we kind of dressed her up in this. And we got the lung, we put the sort of the kind of heart rate around her here. So she was like a nurse. And she was blowing suggestively into the lung capacity. So it looked brilliant. It was fantastic. So we sent out these catalogs. I was really proud of it. It was very out of the box. And then we had all our customers like from the sort of government site saying, I was deeply offended by your catalog. But you can make mistakes.
Did it cost you any biz?
It fortunately it didn't, and we reprinted them and we got over it. But even years and years after, people still talk about this. I can't believe you did that nurse's outfit thing. So sometimes at the time it was like my biggest disaster because I thought, oh no, I've blown their reputation. But then afterwards, people sort of get over it, and then it works out. So when you take risks, you are sometimes going to get it wrong. But I think you got to give it a try, haven't you? Otherwise, you're just the same as everybody else, and you don't stand out.
Dude, that's a bomb. Now, out of curiosity, before we wrap it up, what are you doing here in Vegas?
I'm here to see you. Well,
not just this.
Yeah,
you didn't come just for this, did you?
Well, it's two things. We have a kind of mutual friend called Dennis, and he was telling me about this great technology that you guys have, and I've come to do the podcast, but secondly, I've come to see what it is that you guys do, because we're in the education business as well. Our primary business is product, but secondary is we teach people how to use the product, and I understand that there's some really innovative ways for people to learn very effectively, and we're just we're not in that space yet. So I'm here sort of checking this out. And then I'm going to drop into Cocoon to see the Cocoon water that we spoke about earlier as well.
Dude, that's crazy stuff. I'm interested to see what you think about that.
Yeah.
So there's no other purpose. I thought maybe you're on a book tour or you're promoting some, the podcast. And by the way, folks, he's got his own podcast called Escape Your Limits. It's weekly. Where do they find it? Wherever podcasts are.
It's on iTunes. It's on YouTube. If you go to the Escape Fitness YouTube channel, you'll see the video version there, or you can go onto iTunes and check it out there. So it's it's for anyone really in the fitness industry, entrepreneurs, investors, trainers, owners, and we kind of talk to people in that business about how they've developed, grown their business, new innovations in the space, that kind of stuff. So I've been going for a couple of years now.
Damn. How many episodes?
Next week will be our 100th episode, and it'll be with Mark Mastroff, who is a kind of mutual friend.
So you get. Well, again, I wish I could call him a friend. You can. I know of him, obviously, but I've met him I think twice. But boy, that dude's a success. You're getting like big dogs on your podcast.
Yeah, we get a mixture, but we'll get people that we've had everyone from Mr. Olympias. We had Lee Haney and Dorian Yates to people like Mark Mastroff that have built and sold big corporations. And
well, he's like part of the group that bought the UFC.
Absolutely,
and that was $4 billion deal. So Mark is like a freaking icon. He's like a lot of people never heard of his name, but they know a lot of his products.
Yeah, and
it's like, damn, dude, that's a good guy to have on.
Yeah.
So listen, Bomb Squad, if you guys aren't following this guy, you should go to Instagram.com/Matthew Januszek. Go check out escapefitness.com. You don't have a book to promote?
No, I don't. Just, not yet. Maybe.
Folks, he ain't pitching nothing. He ain't selling nothing. He just came through to check out Lightspeed, check out the Cocoon thing. And we'll talk about that later on another podcast. But he ain't here to sell you nothing, man. He just wants to frickin' drop a few bombs and help fellow entrepreneurs, man.
Yeah, and inspire them to sort of get, as I said in the beginning, realize the importance of, your health and fitness. To if you want to be a successful business person, that in terms of the order of priority, that needs to be up the top, because if you don't get that right, the rest of it is on shaky ground. And if you can do that by using some of our products, then that's cool as well.
Well, if people are listening, what do they do? Call their local facility and see if they have Escape Fitness equipment?
Yeah, you can do that. Or you can just, if you go to our website, escapefitness.com, you can kind of see what we're doing and where we are. There's a lot of our customers on the...
Do you sell it to individuals too?
We do, yeah. We've got certain products that are for the end users. We've got some cool things that you can use at home. Like I do, if you haven't got time to get to the gym, then there's some pretty cool stuff that you can do 20 minutes out in a park and you can get yourself in pretty decent shape.
Well, that's what I want to get going, because again, dude, I don't want to go to a park because that takes just as much time as gym. I want to do it in my backyard, and I don't want like a gym in my backyard. So it sounds like you have a couple of pieces of equipment that you can put away when you're done?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
What would you recommend?
I would say what I do, my workout when I'm not, I like to go in the gym a few times, because sometimes it's nice to get that boost and, check out the atmosphere and the people and go and use the sauna. But I'll do that a couple of times. And then out of the sort of 6 times a week I work out, I'll probably do 4 at home. And so I've got a Bulgarian bag. I've got a pair of running shoes, so I'll kind of do some hill sprints and that just to get my heart rate up. I'll do the Bulgarian bag to give me some nice sort of explosive strength. I've got a cool product called the Vector, which allows me to do all my sort of strength movement. And then I'll have a few dumbbells and a barbell. And that, you can do pretty much everything on those pieces of equipment.
And that stuff's at escapefitness.com.
Absolutely, yeah.
Let's go. Let's go to your website right now. I might get some stuff from you right now. Folks, listen, go out, share, rate this podcast. If you ain't following Matthew, go do it now. Check out his stuff at Escape Fitness. Matthew, appreciate you coming in. Appreciate you dropping bombs, sharing the knowledge with the Bomb Squad. And we'll have you back anytime you're in Vegas. Let me know. We'll bring you back on. I just like shooting the shit with you.
I've enjoyed it. You've asked some questions I hadn't thought about for many years. Well, thanks, Brad. I appreciate it,
dude. A lot of people say that. They're like, dude, I wasn't prepared for this. Let me do another one. I'm like, dude, we just had a little conversation. That's all. Bomb Squad, appreciate your support. I love the reviews and the ratings. Go give me a few. Until next time, keep it real.
Awesome. That was cool.